Carolina Fishing TV, showing you how to catch more fish.
Hey folks, this is Captain Jeff Cronk here again today with Captain Rob Korally. Welcome to Carolina Fishing TV. Today we're going to go ahead and target some sheepshead in the backwaters around Swansboro. We'll be targeting these sheepshead using fiddler crabs. We can also use mud crabs, sea urchins, a lot of different, good variety of bait.
You want to pick up these fiddler crabs on the low tide. They come out of their little hidey holes down towards the edge of the water. On high tide, they'll all be flooded back into the marsh grass. And so we're going to come find some around this corner. We might have to dig some out. Sometimes they'll be completely out of their holes and you can just run them down.
The easiest place for folks to find these is really accessible right off the ICW. All these cut banks, these islands, as Rob was saying, on low tide, what they're doing is the holes that these fiddler crabs burrow in, they get so hot when the sun gets up and the tide drops out. It gets so hot in those holes they have to come out. So they come out of these holes, and a lot of times they make that walk on down to the water's edge where they're so far away from those holes you can surprise attack them and you can reach down and grab them before they get back to their holes. The male has got the big claw. We call these a one-armed bandit, and the female has two small claws. The male also has a small claw as well. So when you pick up the females, it's really easy to just grab them anywhere. When you pick up the males, we'll actually a lot of times we'll lock on their claw as they're running. I'll just put my hand down on top of them, just right down on top of them, so he stays. So you can't move and bite me, and I'll grab his claw and pick him up by his claw. I mean, they're not gonna injure you. I hate to demonstrate this for you, but I'm gonna. Rob's gonna. Don't scream.
No, it doesn't hurt too bad. It's not gonna draw blood, but it'll surprise you the first time they get a hold of you.
You can toss out a float cork with a fiddler crab on it just as easy as you can toss out a float cork with a live shrimp on it.
And it's a lot less likely to get eaten by a pinfish or little croaker or any kind of trash fish. Mostly the drum and the sheep's head are all that want to eat these fiddler crabs.
And they're just, they're sitting down there about an inch or so down inside the hole. I'm just pushing it. There he goes. Look at that. Push those scissors in from the back side. And they'll just come out running. And you can pick them up like that. Obviously, it's going to take you a little longer, to get what you need for the day.
Yeah, you can do this on any tide, but when you get on that low tide, you can sit there and just pick them up. You don't have to dig them out.
We probably got 75 to 100 there. It doesn't take long when they're out of their holes like this, but I don't know too many places that stock fiddler crabs. I know here in Swansboro, Dudley's Marina, John Willard there, he has some of the guys that work for him go out and picks them up almost daily, and he's usually carrying them for sale. They run about $1 to $1.50 a dozen, and probably, you're looking at, 5 to 10 dozen for the day is all you need. All right, folks, there's the sheepshead we're going to target today. The first thing we talk about is when. We're looking at, they start showing up in April, but it really kicks off in May. The month of May, June, and July is really good sheepshead fishing around our area. We're fishing a lot from Morehead City through Swansboro down to like New River and whatnot for these fish. We're targeting boat docks, pylons basically, boat docks and bridge pylons. As you're getting ready, if you are going to fish bridge pylons, you got to be real careful for a couple things. There's going to be traffic passing through these bridges. So you've got to be aware of, if you're moving down the pylons parallel to the bridge, the pylons kind of block your view of a boat maybe coming through the bridge. So you got to pay close attention to it and see if there's anybody coming through. There's no speed limits in a lot of these areas. There's no wake zones. Some areas have it, some areas don't. So boats are allowed to come through these bridges at full speed. Get yourself a nice oversized fender, one that when you lay it underneath the railing, it still sticks out and protects the boat, holds the boat away. That fender gives me about 3 inches between when it's pressed against the boat. It still has about 3 inches of fender exposed that can lay against the bridge if I need it to. Or I can hang it over the side like this too. A couple of fenders. Keep a couple of towels on your boat. You can lay a towel over the side of your boat if it's rubbing against the pylons. Just approach the pylons real easy. I would say, in general, approach it against the current. Because if you come in with the current, whichever direction the current's coming, your boat's going to tend to have that forward momentum, and if you don't throw it in reverse fast enough, you might find yourself hitting the pylons.
The thing that's going to hurt you the most is speed. Just take your time, go slow. You can't go too slow when you're tying off to these pilings. We've got wind going one way, current going one way, boat wakes coming in. You just got to take your time and go nice and easy, have full control.
Here, there's a bunch in there too. There's, besides the oysters that you can see, there's barnacles in there, and as you get down in the water column, there's little mussels and a lot of grass that grows on here. And those sheepshead, that's what they're eating. They'll eat that grass, they'll eat the mussels, they'll eat the barnacles. As the tide's dropping out of the river, not so much now, but shortly here in the next month, we'll have a lot of shrimp moving in and out with the current, and they're feeding on that as well. So what we're going to do is, I'll take, usually, you can keep an old paddle on the boat. You can use the back of your gaff. You won't mess up the corner of your gaff by using that back edge. And I'll just take and knock some of this off and chum them up. And it really does work. That's the stuff they're eating. Any sheepshead are down current from that will pull them in.
You just don't want to over chum these fish. You can do it because, like I said, I've cleaned them and they've just been so full of it they couldn't eat anymore. So get a little bit knocked in the water to get them going, ring that dinner bell, and then, you know, chum as necessary. When your bite's starting to slow down, start to knock back a little bit more. But you don't want to come in here and knock an acre of barnacles and stuff off the pilings. The sheephead go in there and feed on all that, and then they're not hungry.
There's one, little guy.
Net?
Nah, he's about a pound and a half, that one. He's in that current right there. Actually, he's pretty good. Look, he's about, grab that net there, he's about 2.5 pounds. I'm gonna bring around this other side of the boat and get him out of the current. I mean, get him out of that pylon there. You don't have to fight these fish real hard, but you gotta, he's going down. You gotta get him away from the pylons. They wanna wrap around it.
Here, switch with me.
See, he's still trying to go back to that pylon. It's not about crank, crank, crank and get them in the boat. Take your time with them, keep your rod tip high. Keep that rod tip high and just go up and down with them and set that drag accordingly to how big he is, and you got to do it all real quick. Here he comes. Oh, nice one. Nothing wrong with that one. He'll go about 3, isn't he?
That's about a 3-pounder. That's what we come here for.
That's a nice one. First fish about 3.5 pounds.
All right, we're using a Carolina rig for these sheepshead. It's got a sliding sinker on it. And what I usually do is weight the sinker according to the tide. The smallest sinker you can get away with when the tide's barely slack, hardly moving. I'm using a little 1/2 ounce sinker. Sometimes you can use one even smaller, 1/4 ounce. And then as that tide starts to increase, gets about mid-strength, we'll go to 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces. And then when it gets to full bore running strength, they still bite real good. You got to have about 2 ounces of weight to keep it there in the zone. You can fish with 20, 30, 40, 50-pound fluorocarbon. I usually use 25 to 30 unless I know there's some big fish and we're in some real deep structure, and we're going to be using 40-pound a day just to make sure that we don't lose any of these fish to the structure. And we've got 10-pound braided line. A lot of times you use 20 in here, and that has a lot of abrasion resistance, and that gets nicked around the pilings, and if he gets around, I've had him get around and still been able to get him out with this braided line without it cutting up. Hook-wise is a real short shank hook. They got small mouths compared to the rest of their body, and they got really hard teeth, so you need a strong, short shank hook. You see the shank on that's just barely longer than the point on these hooks, and that allows you to get it in that sheepshead mouth. If you got a real long shank hook, even though it's the same width, he's gonna that's gonna impede the bait getting all the way in his mouth, and you're gonna miss a lot of fish. And they need to be this strong because those sheepshead have sharp teeth. They're used to scraping all these barnacles and stuff off the pilings, and I've had 6 to 10-pound fish bite right through these sometimes.
That's it. Look at the difference between those two hooks.
Yeah.
That's called a mosquito hook, that light wire right there, and I think that's the 3X strong probably he has right here. And
these will work for your smaller sheepshead, but you get a 6 or 8 pounder on, he'll bite right through that.
Little guy?
That's one right there that'll take you 5, 6, 7 crabs to catch. You see he's got that little mouth on him. We'll usually keep. But that wait till they get up to a pound, pound and a half to keep them. We'll let this little guy go. But there's tons of these guys down there mixed in with the bigger ones. These sheephead, they like to come up from the underside and nibble out by the legs, right under here. So you want the point of that hook protruding on the underside. And I like to go in the corner at the top of the crab and go right through there to the other side and have that hook point coming out just like one of his legs right there. Kind of disguises it a little bit, and it's in the right place. And these sheephead, he's either going to come up right there and nibble on it, or he's going to come up right there and nibble on it. So you're giving yourself a 50-50 chance of that hook being right there where it needs to be.
I got one on there.
That's a good one there.
I don't know, he's going, but I think he's a little smaller. He's a little guy. He made that initial dive, but the
Don't go anywhere. Carolina Fishing TV will be right back.